This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report, there's an old farmer saying that if the cows are standing up, it's going to be clear. And if the cows are lying down, it's going to rain. What does it mean when the cows are swimming? That and more on this week's Four Rivers Ag Report. Welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. Well, I tweeted this week that my rain gauge recorded 3 inches of rain over the weekend. Then I got another inch on Tuesday. When has extreme become the new normal? So basically, we're all wet, willing, and waiting for the sun to come out and dry up the ground a bit. And by all, I mean all of us. Monica will have the crop totals later on the show, but eventually it will stop raining, it will dry out, and you guys will be racing out to plant. That's the part that concerns me. So what do I do when I get concerned? I go to the doctor. In this case, Dr. Bob Ahern, the farm safety expert at the University of Illinois. Dr. Ahern, what is our biggest problem this time of year for farm safety?
Well, probably our biggest problem is roadway collisions involving moving our tillage equipment on the roadways. It's often fairly wide, sometimes often wider than one lane of traffic. And while we have the legal right, farmers do, to move their equipment on public roads, we also have a duty to warn oncoming traffic. Now, that could mean several things. One is that we want to make sure we have good lighting on our equipment, have the extremities lit as well with flashing warning lights, and so they're visible to the front and rear, and we recommend they have them on day and night so that traffic coming in either direction can see us readily, be alerted that you're a slow-moving vehicle, and be able to see the width of the equipment. Of course, this is really particularly important if you're moving at night. We would recommend avoiding moving equipment at night as much as possible because it causes problems with coming in contact with other equipment. Another issue with moving equipment is that if we have situations, and in Illinois we have a roadway that has curves in it or some hills, which we don't have a lot of hills, but where you have less than 1,000 feet visibility for other traffic, you really need to have an escort vehicle. So someone with flashing lights, particularly on the rear of the equipment, are following you if your equipment is not wider than 2 lanes. If it's wider than 2 lanes, you also need one in front to warn oncoming traffic to slow down and stop until you can safely get by. Because if we want to avoid the collisions, also it's a tremendous liability situation. If you get a collision on the roadway with another vehicle and you haven't made an adequate effort to warn that equipment, warn that driver, you could be in serious liability situations. The other thing is that when a driving public needs to realize that this time of year and during a fall harvest, we have a lot of farm equipment on the roadways, and they need to be on there often to do their work. And so you just need to slow down. When you go on the roadway, slow down at the intersection. Slow down when you go around a curve, because you never know what could be in front of you when you get around that curve. So
right. So a lot of use even more common sense than usual this time of year, correct?
Well, right, yeah. Just make sure you're driving with more defensive.
Leave the road rage at home.
Right, right.
Okay. Now you talk about driving at night. How much does fatigue this time of year and during harvest enter into farm accidents happening?
Right, it could be significant. A lot of farmers get out and we might have a rainy period like we're having right now, and it starts happening during prime planting time. They start pushing themselves too much. They go out and start working 12, 14 hours a day, 16 sometimes, and they're getting less than 5 or 6 hours of sleep at night. And when that happens, you become physically tired, but you also become mentally tired, and that's when we make mental mistakes we don't normally do. It's from a safety standpoint, you need to have at least 6 or 7 hours of sleep. You just drive more alertly. You're much less likely to have a serious accident. Our research shows that when you have less sleep, your accident risk goes way up based on the number of accidents that happen to people who don't have much sleep when they have an accident. And then also it's important from a fatigue standpoint that about every 2 to 3 hours you take a 10 or 15 minute break. So you get mentally refreshed and you get physically refreshed somewhat, and you're much more alert when you do that. When you go back and do your work, and less likely to make a mental mistake you would not normally do.
Well, as far behind as farmers are this fall, or at least perceived behind, some folks are going to push themselves. Right. What is the most common, other than car farm equipment accident. What is the most common accident farmers make this time of year?
Well, with our tillage equipment and so forth, and when we're out working, there's several things, a couple things, I guess. One is they get off and do repair work on the machine, and they'll lift up the hydraulic system, and they're trying to work on the knives or whatever is involved with this machine, with a particular machine, and they don't mechanically block out the hydraulic system, and then it could fall on them and cause a crushing-related injury. It could be an extremity like a leg, but sometimes your whole body if they're quite a bit underneath it. So it's very important that when we're raising something up with hydraulics, that if we're going to be anywhere around the equipment personally or someone else, that you mechanically lock it out. And that could be, in a lot of our hydraulic systems, there's a mechanical lockout mechanism that you can bring down and put a pin in place to lock it out. And sometimes you may need to actually, if you're doing repair and maintenance work on equipment, is use to block it up with 4x4 pieces of wood, or using a good hydraulic jack or something that will mechanically hold the machine in a secure situation. And also, when we're doing repair work on our equipment, if the conditions aren't right, often farmers will try to do it out in the field, but you might have a situation where you're on a slope where the ground is very soft, and that can cause the machine to shift and cause an accident. So you're better off to take a little time and move that equipment into the farm shop or into a farmstead where the ground's level and more solid at the surface to do your work on.
So in retrospect, it's always better to take your time to do the safe way as opposed to the fast way.
Well, we understand the importance of getting work done, quickly, but and efficiently. But you're not being very efficient if you put yourself or someone else at significant risk, and to the point where if you have an accident, that accident can cost you, days and weeks and time that if that person is yourself or someone else that won't be available to do work on your farm. You either got to replace that labor or you just don't get stuff done. And it's not worth that kind of risk. And then also all the financial costs can be involved with these accidents, from the medical costs, lost time, litigation costs in some cases, and all that sort of thing can be very costly. We estimate the average accident that costs a farmer about $25,000 with no fatality. If the person's killed, it goes up to over $1 million. When you look at the effect on their income ability over their lifetime and things of that nature, and lost productivity. So from managing your resources well, you need to look at how to manage the risk so that you're not putting yourself out there. There's some risk in everything we do, but you can do a lot to manage how much risk you're taking. That can be very efficient in reducing the chances you have an accident on your farm.
Thank you so much for your time. I hope that this is a accident-free spring, and we follow that with an accident-free fall, right?
Okay. You're
quite welcome. Thank you very much. We are now joined with Monica Becker with the news. And Monica, you say you start off with a brain teaser?
We do, but Fred, I don't know if you can partake in this one.
Okay, young lady.
Well, we'll start off with a puzzle. What's wrong with this picture? Other than the small red dot that represents some loner in the northwestern part of the state who got in, what is missing is anyone who started planting. But as most farmers already know, this isn't the latest farmers have waited to start planting, even this decade. We had late starts in 2003, 2006, and 2011, and in the 3-year stretch between 2007 and 2009, it was even worse, with 0% of the corn crop having been planted by this time of the month. Other news from the USDA Weekly Crop Report: it's wet. When the subsoil moisture in our area is at 82% adequate, we're probably in pretty good shape. So how does all this stack up nationally? According to the site AgWeb, we're in good company. Only 2% of the corn crop is planted nationwide. So sooner or later, we'll get this year's corn crop in the ground, but will there be a market for it? The USDA this month cut estimated demand for corn. Todd Gleason reports it means there will be more left over from last year's drought-reduced corn crop than expected.
Commodity reports produced by the United States Department of Agriculture, they're released every month. The World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates, or WASDE, puts together balance sheets for each crop. The balance sheet for corn has been rapidly changing over the last 2 months, and it now shows much more corn will be left over from last year. University of Illinois ag economist Daryl Good explains.
As expected, the WASDE folks lowered their projection of feed and residual use for the year. The question really was how much would they lower that based on the March stocks number, and they cut the projection 150 million bushels, which I think was pretty much in line with what the market expected.
Expected, but only after the USDA surprised the market at the end of March with a grain stocks report that showed the availability of a whole lot more corn. Along with 150 million bushel feed cut use, USDA lowered this month corn exports by 25 million bushels, but offset those two items with a 50 million bushel increase in corn used to produce ethanol.
So the net change, consumption 125 million bushels less than forecast last month. Year-ending stocks 125 million bushels larger than forecast last month.
The question on the minds of farmers then, with corn left to sell from last season and a crop going into the ground right now, is this: are the numbers right, and are they in balance?
To me, it's very logical. It's a number that's very defensible, and I think is a reasonable expectation at this point. But all bets will be off with the June stocks report.
It will again adjust how much corn the nation has left in the bin. The grain stocks report will be released June 28th. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association, in partnership with the Asmark Institute, recently developed a training curriculum for Illinois community college students enrolled in agriculture programs at their respective college. The Head Start program offers students a training curriculum that prepares them for work at agriculture retail facilities. One of the goals of the Head Start program is to reduce accidents at the workplace, while at the same time giving students a head start on safety and training requirement prior to entering the ag retail workforce. The pilot program will take place in Bloomington, but if successful, should be rolled out to other junior colleges soon. But if you can't wait to address the need to improve ammonia safety, the Illinois Department of Agriculture, IFCA, Illinois Corn Growers Association, and Illinois Farm Bureau have collaborated to develop a detailed web-based training program for farmers. Last year, it seemed like we went through 6 of the 7 plagues. The one we missed? Locusts. Actually, we had our regular invasion of cicadas, but it was hard to hear them over the sobs of farmers crying. This year, it's the East Coast's turn to host the insect's 17-year visit, as Carl Azu reports.
Call them cicadas, call them cicadas. Don't call them pretty. It's like someone took a roach, slapped on some wings, and glued 2 orange buggy eyes on it. Millions of Americans on the East Coast will soon get an up-close and personal view. Every new generation of cicadas emerges from underground to mate. That happens every 13 or 17 years, and 2013 is going to be a big one. Starting in late April, swarms are expected from Connecticut to North Carolina, in some spots enough to darken the sky. If their faces are those only cicada mothers could love, they've got voices to match, or more accurately, organs on the abdomens of males that vibrate to attract females. When the guys go out on the prowl, the collective sound is like waves of screeching. This may send some human screeching, but they're more likely to bug us than actually harm us, unless they poke us with their beaks.
If you didn't notice the cicadas last year, don't worry, they were all outside my bedroom window last summer. I'm Monica Becker. Thanks for watching.
If misery loves company, well, our crop guys would be a Fortune 500 company. So let's get started. First off, the handiest man in Coles County, Bill Uphoff. Bill, how wet are you?
We got 3.5 inches of rain in the gauge now so far since Sunday. And I think the 1.5 inches we received last night pretty well just ran away. I think we're too full to hold anymore at this point.
Well, that's the word I'm getting. That we had about 3.5 inches in Champaign County this week.
Okay, right.
So you're sitting around playing tiddlywinks, right?
Running errands still. We're still running after parts and still trying to get last-minute preparations made. And Looks to be now we might be thinking about shoveling and ditching off water in spots that are standing. So
how much standing water do you have in your fields?
North of town quite a bit in the low ponded areas that are poorly drained. It's not a very good sight this morning.
Now, so those are fields with tile, right?
The ones without tile are particularly full of water right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and there's even a small percentage of tile in those fields, but still the drainage ditches are full, and it's just going to take some time to let it all flush out.
Yeah. So you need to find some floating corn seed, right?
Right. Yeah, pontoons and what have you. Yes.
So what are you doing to fill the time?
We're working in the shop. Work on equipment. There's always something that you forget. It seems like you have time to do things and prepare, but there's always that thing you forget, and so we're obviously going to have extra time now to catch up on those things that need attention.
Okay, so you've got all that going on. How much time would it take to dry out the field, do you think?
Oh boy, Fred! Right now we're looking at probably 10 days.
So
if it would stop raining at this point.
Yeah, if it stopped raining and got warmer, right?
Right, yes.
Well, Bill, best of luck. We will talk to you in about a month, and let's hope you're planting by then.
Yes, I hope so, too.
Okay.
And now all the way down by Greenup is our good friend Leroy Scott. And Leroy, please tell me you're dry and planting now, right?
I can tell you that, but it's not true. We planted some grass yesterday. Does that count in the yard?
Well, how much is grass going per bushel?
Well, it's pretty cheap.
Well, so how are things down there?
Well, we're wet, and the ground's cold, and things are, not moving along like we'd like to. But you got to remember that it's not normal for us to be planting in April. In my career, I've probably planted many, many more times in May or mid-May than I have in April. So, we'd like to get the job done, like to get the corn planted, but this is just part of it.
Yeah, it's makes another reason why last year was so exceptional in so many different ways, correct?
Well, yes, we had a wonderful start, but we had a terrible finish. So maybe this year we'll have a bad start and a good finish.
Well, yep. Let's go with that. Okay, let's run with that.
Okay.
So, what are you doing to spend the time? You taking up solitaire?
Well, no, not really. It seems like there's always some little thing we do. I guess we got a truck in there working out in the shop today, and out of the rain, and nothing too serious. It seemed like we've been over all the equipment once or twice, and just trying to be sure we didn't forget something. When the sun shines, we'll be ready to go.
So how are soil temperatures? You said it was a little cold out there.
I haven't really checked them, but it's pretty cool yet. I haven't had my thermometer out. Usually I do, but it's too cold for the thermometer.
So just to refresh my memory, what are you planning on doing this year? Corn, beans, whatever?
We'll plant about a normal rotation of half corn and half beans. I do farm river bottom ground, and some of the ground we have in river bottom looked like we could have planted before this, but I'm glad it's not in the ground because it's cool weather gives you slow emergence and then even emergence, and then that, of course, costs yield on the end, and so it's always nice when you plant the corn, it all comes up at the same time.
Well, let's hope that next time I talk to you, you're a little bit busier than now. So.
Well, I do too.
Okay, well, thank you, Leroy Scott from Greenup. Have a great day.
Thanks, Fred.
So why did King Cotton rule the South? And why did the Orange Bowl start in Florida? Well, you might think it would be easy to address why we're called the Corn Belt. But as Chris Langen and Cameron Craig tell us, there's more to the Corn Belt than meets the eye.
I'm here with Chris Langen, geography professor at Eastern Illinois University. And this week we're going to talk about the yields from last year, soybean and corn, and then what we can see for the projection.
Well, yeah, what the USDA has projected the 2013 numbers to be so far.
Okay.
Yeah, so as we can see here last year, as a country, we were down about 19% in terms of overall yield with corn. Illinois took a bigger hit than most. We were down about 30%. With our corn yield only going down to about 116 bushels an acre. Similar with soybeans, Illinois didn't see quite as big of a drop, but still well above the national average of 14%.
Okay, and this is all because of the drought situation.
Yeah,
and the lingering drought situation.
Exactly. Last year's drought hit us hard. These are the most recent projections here for what we expect to see over the next couple of months when it comes to hopefully an improvement. Illinois, I think now we're out of the drought, so we're kind of in this area here shown on the map where there's no improvement shown because we're already back to where we should be.
And with these recent rain events, it keeps that drought situation here in Illinois at bay.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, the Great Plains, it is improving, but
it's improving here and there, and hopefully with these rains that we have had will allow farmers to get into the field so that they're, if some drought would happen towards the summer, early fall, that they're not hurt by those types of consequences.
Okay, what about the upcoming year?
Upcoming year, the USDA a few weeks ago just released its reports on corn and soybeans and some of the other major crops. Again, another projected record high for corn and soybean aggregate acreage planted, up to about 174,500, million acres planted. Corn is up again for the 5th consecutive year. Not so much in the Corn Belt, as we'll see here in the maps here in a second. The plantings aren't up so much here, but in states outside of the Corn Belt, Arizona, Idaho, Nevada, not huge producers, but up there nonetheless. And same with soybeans. Where you have corn, you're going to obviously have soybeans. So the highest upward trend in soybean plantings will be in the Eastern Corn Belt, states like Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and so on.
All right.
So if we look at the maps here, I've circled the states that are actually seeing an increase in terms of amount of acreage planted with respect to what it was last year.
Okay.
So Illinois is down about 600,000 acres. Some of that was taken up with soybeans. North Dakota is the state in both. They weren't hit as hard with the drought last year. They're up in both corn and soybean acreage.
Okay.
So.
All right, I see. And then soybeans, so this is corn?
Yeah, this is corn. Soybeans is a little bit different. Illinois is planting about 300,000 more acres of soybeans than we did last year. A lot of that might just be the annual corn-soy rotation. One year there might be a little more corn, less soy, and it flip-flops the next year.
Okay.
But nationally speaking, the overall trends for what we're seeing is just that continuation from what we've had over the past couple of decades.
Right, okay. So. That's very interesting, and hopefully we don't get into a drought situation where it expands to, Illinois, and then we can keep these yields up.
Yeah, and I don't know if necessarily a drought is going to really impact what we plant year to year. We're still going to be a corn and soybean state, but, the trend continues.
All right. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Killow with your Insight Extension. Don't forget to sign up for the 4 Seasons Gardening Telenet series. This is your chance to learn from leading lawn and garden experts. There is no charge for these telenets and they are open to the public. Dates and topics include April 23rd, pollinators and insecticides, May 7th, all about tomatoes, and May 21st, don't doubt the drought. The telenets will be conducted in Charleston, Arthur, and Shelbyville. To learn more and to register, go to our website. Give your brain a workout. Sign up for brain training held on June 17th and 24th from 1:30 until 3:00 p.m. at the Shelbyville Senior Center. Extension educator Sherry Burcham will be teaching this class as part of the Lakeland Community Programs. Register now at lakelandcollege.edu. All ages are welcome. The Coles County Master Gardeners will be participating in the annual Herb Fest in Mattoon on Saturday, April 27th from 8 a.m. until they are sold out. The Herb Fest will be on Broadway Avenue at 9th Street. The Master Gardeners will have their table on the east side of the picket fence and will be selling bulbs, perennials, annuals, baskets, herbs, plant markers, gloves, and much more. We would also like to extend a big thank you to all of our supporters for last Saturday's Coles County 4-H Barbecue. Thank you to all of those who donated, volunteered, and came out to support 4-H and share a fantastic meal. We all appreciate your continued support of Coles County 4-H. From U of I Extension, serving Coles, Cumberland, Moultrie, Douglas, and Shelby counties, this has been Jessica Killow with your Inside Extension.
So this week I was looking for a story to close with and typed in fields in the old internet machine, and I found this. Now this may be more Fields a Nightmare than Fields a Dream, but this week a man driving a white van dropped off a package addressed to Chicago Cubs owner Tom Ricketts. When security personnel opened the box, they found a severed goat head. Why a goat's head? Well, in 1945, a Chicago bar owner named William Billy Goat Cianis of the Billy Goat's Tavern fame, and you know, the cheeseburger people, tried to bring a goat into Game 4 of the World Series between the Detroit Tigers and the Cubs. He was denied entrance because then Chicago Cubs owner P.K. Wrigley said, "The goat stinks." Well, Cianis, who brought the goat figuring it would bring good luck, said he would put a curse on the team because they refused to let the goat in. Well, we all know the story. The Cubs have never been to the World Series since. The Cubs and the police believe the fan may have been trying to lift the curse with the goat's head. What might actually lift the curse? Left-handed pitching. So work hard, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.